I'm Lauren, 27. Standing on my porch, I watch the sunset paint Lake Michigan in strokes of amber and gold. It's been a year since I walked away from my parents' pretentious life, and now, surrounded by the scent of spring blossoms from my garden, I reflect on the journey that led me here. It all started at my brother Ethan's graduation party. He was 23, having just graduated from a prestigious business school in New York. Our parents, wealthy and influential in our suburban Boston community, spared no expense for the celebration. The house was filled with guests, the air heavy with the smell of expensive champagne and fresh flowers. I sat at the dining table, tracing the edge of my crystal water glass, a smile fixed on my face as I watched Ethan receive a key to a luxury apartment downtown. It was a gift from our parents, a symbol of his bright future in the family business. Meanwhile, I was working two jobs and taking online courses to finish my accounting degree, barely scraping by. After the party, as I was cleaning up in the kitchen, my father came in and informed me that I would have to start paying $1,500 in rent starting the next month. I was shocked. I had been contributing to the household expenses for years, helping with the family finances and taking care of the bills. But my efforts were always overshadowed by Ethan's achievements. I tried to reason with my father, but he was unmoved. He said that it was time for me to be more independent and start paying my own way. That night, I couldn't sleep. I went to my childhood bedroom and pulled out my record book, filled with detailed accounts of my financial contributions to the family. Behind it on the bookshelf was Grandma Rose's photo album. As I flipped through the pages, I found a small index card with a note that read, "LR Trust minus $300,000. I realized that LR stood for me, Lauren Rose. I immediately texted Aunt Lily, Grandma Rose's sister, and asked to meet her. The next day, I met Aunt Lily at a diner outside our neighborhood. She was a kind and gentle woman, with silver hair and a warm smile. She told me that Grandma Rose had established a trust fund for me when I was 16, worth $300,000, to ensure that I had the opportunity to pursue my education and build a future for myself. But after Grandma Rose had a stroke, my father had gained power of attorney and had started making withdrawals from the trust fund. The timing of the withdrawals coincided with Ethan's college tuition payments. I was devastated. I couldn't believe that my father would do something like this to me. As I looked through the bank statements, I noticed that there were several withdrawal slips with my forged signature. I remembered a time when I was in the hospital after a breakdown from overwork. My father had brought some paperwork for me to sign, and I had trusted him and signed without reading. It was then that I realized that they had used my vulnerability to steal my inheritance. I also discovered that Ethan was the one who had forged my signature. He had always been good at mimicking handwriting since childhood, and his skills had been encouraged and laughed at within our family. It was a cruel betrayal, not just of my trust, but of our family bond. I decided to take action. I contacted a lawyer, Mr. Thompson, and he helped me gather evidence and prepare for a legal battle. My father's lawyer tried to defend his actions, claiming that it was a normal family financial arrangement and that I was being ungrateful. But Mr. Thompson presented a strong case, showing the bank transfers, the forged signatures, and Grandma Rose's explicit instructions for the trust fund. The court case was a long and emotional process. I had to face my parents and Ethan in the courtroom, and it was one of the most difficult things I had ever done. But I was determined to fight for what was right. In the end, the judge ruled in my favor. My father was ordered to restore the trust fund, pay legal fees, and face additional penalties for fraud. After the court case, my life began to change. I moved into a small cottage near the lake, rented from Aunt Lily. I finished my accounting degree and started my own practice. I made new friends, people who saw me for who I was and supported me. My mother, who had always been passive in the past, started to take steps towards self-improvement. She left my father and began teaching art classes at a local community college. Ethan also reached out to me, apologizing for his actions and saying that he was trying to find his own way in the world without the family business. As I stand here on my porch, looking out at the lake, I am filled with a sense of peace and gratitude. I have built a life for myself, one based on truth and integrity. I have learned that sometimes The bravest thing you can do is to walk away from a toxic situation and build your own table. And I am ready to embrace whatever the future holds.